Hello, everyone. My name is Jackie Goldman. I know most of you. I am the owner of Puzzles Plus in Jacksonville, Florida, and welcome. I have the pleasure of introducing Ari Lowenstein. I have known him for years and years. He is the most approachable human being, kind, sweet, so many great things. Anyway, I'm going to read you his bio. So please excuse me as I look down. With an original life goal of becoming a high school physics teacher. I'm sorry, Ari, that just sounds like I could see you as a gym teacher or an English teacher, but a physics? Ari Lowenstein first became a member of the MSA Museum Store Association in 1999. Since then, Ari has lived in 5 different countries, 4 different states. He is fluent in Italian, and he says, cooking Italian cuisine. He's been engaged a few times. I don't know why he had to put that in his bio. He's and is a vendor advisor to the MSA board of, I think I skipped this. Been engaged a few times, worked for 4 different MSA vendors and advised many others, and served for 2 years as member advisor to the MSA board of directors. Recently, he was recognized and received the MSA Advocacy Award. Ari now serves as Chief Strategy Officer for Brandwise, where his role includes launching programs with associations in many sectors. I'd like to introduce, for those who know Ari and who don't know Ari Lowenstein.
Hello, everyone. Quite honored to be here. I recognize a lot of you, but also very exciting I don't recognize a lot of you. How we got here today is that for many years, the MSA has been talking about setting up a marketplace. I think many years ago, they actually made a run at it, where it's kind of just something you could see. And when I took on this role with Brandwise, I advised them about a year ago, and I looked at what they were doing. I realized that the architecture of it was perfect to bring something to the MSA. And it's funny when you've been involved with something as long as I am, I'll like be in the supermarket buying a quart of milk and I'll say, would that be good for the MSA? Because everything just kind of leads there. I've had an exciting 20 years. So when I was working with Brandwise and I introduced them, I said, there's an opportunity here for associations. It wasn't on the radar. But a number of conversations that started towards the end of last year that happened in January and February, and then took on a whole new meeting, obviously, when the world turned upside down. I'm going to start with some of the exciting statistics before I get into showing you a little bit of a look and feel of how it's going to work. I'm not sure if the email's gone out today, but the vendors will find out. Hey, David, that over 12,000 SKUs have already been loaded into the system. So 12,000 products are already up on the MSA marketplace. 6,000 of them already have images. That's being done by 58 different vendors. 136 or nearly 140 vendors have now signed the contracts. So this is really happening. This is not something we could go live today and there'll already be 12,000 SKUs in it, which would already be a great marketplace. The process of the onboarding, which some of the suppliers were concerned about, for many of them, I was talking with one, she said, I sat down in 3 hours and I got it done. That means renaming all of her image files and all of it. So it really is happening. So what I'd like to do, if anyone would like, is raise your hand if anyone would like to see what the marketplace is going to look like. All right, so the eyes have it. Okay, so let's go ahead and show it. All right, can someone make me a presenter? Am I a presenter? Can I share my screen? I can share my screen. Okay, let's share my screen. All right, can you all see something that looks like a marketplace? Yes? Okay, getting it. Okay, so these companies, so just this is again, we're not, the launch date, by the way, which is also going to be announced today, is November 10th. November 10th, there'll be a launch date where the site will go active, and there'll be a webinar on that day, including instructions for the retailers of how they can access it. A number of them will already have what's called a Brandwise Passport, which is basically your account to get into the whole Brandwise ecosystem. But I'll explain some of that, but I'll start just by showing this. So these companies that already have an image here, these are ones that would have already sent in their lifestyle image, and they're along the way. They're in progress in terms of loading their information. The search bar here on the left, which isn't right now dynamic, but that you'll be able to scroll through. There's a search by category. So you can see all of these companies have already started the process of loading their product, which I'm super excited about. So let's do an example of what something might look like. Let me just make sure my cart is empty, which it is not. So I'm just going to clear this so we can do this from the beginning. Okay, so let's go back to, let's say that I wanted to do a search for Monet. This is the exciting part. Okay, so now what's happened is a whole bunch of Monet product from a whole bunch of different suppliers have loaded up. So let's say you're looking for an exhibit. Then it depends on how much of the data they've put in, but we can do a little experiment here. So I like these umbrellas from Raincaper. Okay, so their data is not fully up there yet. Let's grab some others. Okay, so I can grab a scarf from Elizabeth Gillette. I can add some puzzles from New York Puzzle Company. I can add some, let's see, some socks. And although UPG isn't active yet, we'll add a couple of cards. Ooh, that's because they're not active yet. Okay. So if I now go to my cart, what I see is these are all the different orders that I just started placing. Now, obviously, I can go in, work with all those suppliers, and I can just add product to their cart. So let's say, so again, all of this, the suppliers haven't set all of their information. These are all green. They'll be able to set their minimum order. Let's say that the minimum order for New York Puzzle Company was $100. This would be orange or yellow. So I can go back. If I go to this order, I can continue shopping. Go back to New York Puzzle Company. Now I can see all of their products, and then I can add a whole bunch more to it. So it's really, fairly, again, all their product data might not be in yet. So this is one of those pieces where, let's see if they've loaded everything in. They have, okay. So now I've loaded those. I can go back to my cart, and these orders that I'm building here, these can stay in your cart until you're ready to check out. When you're ready to check out, again, there'll be webinars on this. You can confirm your billing address, you confirm your shipping address. You can the terms, all these different options are in there, and then you can push the order through. So this is, I wanted to start with the end. This is what the site's going to look like. Are there any questions about the site specifically? I'll get into some of the other information, but is there anything that anybody wanted to see on here? There's going to be the new search bar is being more dynamic, and that you can search by brand or by product. There's also in the next I believe the next iteration or the one after, we're going to start adding in attributes. Which again is going to be all data that the suppliers themselves will load in, but if they want to load in country of origin, if they want to put in material, those are all pieces that are going to roll out through next year. When we get to that level of sophistication, we wanted to get what we call an MVP, minimum viable product, up. I think it looks great. There's also going to be within the companies, there's this brand profile where the companies will be putting in information here, including their terms and conditions, a little bit about the company. And then the products themselves are going to have options for to add in a lot more information about how it's made. There'll be a pop-up window that might be already active, but not on this site yet, again, because the launch date is November 10th. But I'm really excited because we're already, anyway, this is actually shoppable today, but we don't want to launch it until there's a real splash. So you want to cover any questions about the site before I go into some of the nitty gritty? Is my volume on?
Yeah, it looked like Lawrence had a question. Do you have a question, Lawrence? No.
There is one question on here from Donna. Is this on the MSA website to see it before the launch?
It won't be, this all won't be connected until we actually go live. There is going to be is Donna a supplier, a vendor, or a store?
A vendor.
vendor. So Donna, there is going to be a browse mode that we're going to be introducing to all of you probably next week, where you'll be able to go in and see just your product. You won't be able to see everybody else's.
And from Kim Higgins, hi, Ari.
Hi, Kim.
Can you see? Okay. First,
Kim, you
where
need to
is
sign
my,
your contract.
can you read this, Ari?
Hold on.
Okay,
Let's
wait.
see.
First, where is my promised spaghetti sauce?
Yes.
Kim. And next, Bamboo is listed, but we are upgrading all of our pics for our website. Who do we reach out to?
Sign
Check that listing.
sign the contract. This is on here because we have pre-populated you because you're in the system, Kim. You need to sign your contract to return it, and then everything else will get going. But you can shoot me an email offline, and I'll walk you through it.
Another question, does this site affect any reps for the various companies that are on Marketplace?
Yeah. So a couple of pieces just so that we can kind of put it all in context. This site is going to cost the vendors 3%, unlike something like Fair that costs the vendors 25% or 15%. The orders that are placed through here, the sales reps are going to have visibility on. But they are going to cost the supplier 3%, and there's a revenue share with the MSA that's on that. So how it affects them is up to each supplier. To be perfectly honest, that's not up to the MSA, and it's not up to Brandwise. We're going to be able to provide visibility. What you do with that 3% is up to you. What I will say is, and this is kind of whenever I have these conversations, the part that it goes through, if you look at this marketplace as it cannibalizing orders that a sales rep would have gotten, I think you're missing the point. Because the sales reps, who I hold near and dear to my heart, don't get to every single MSA member. This is about discoverability. So what I can tell you as a supplier, and I'm not speaking from Brandwise, is that what you're going to pick up here is going to be vast compared to only what your sales reps would have gotten. And the beauty here is that then when you pick up that new customer, you can hand that to the sales rep. The sales rep can write orders with them direct all day long, and they're not going through the site. So how will it affect them? They will have visibility to the orders. You will pay 3%. Now, whether that's the 3% that as a supplier you decide to absorb as a cost yourself, or if you decide to ding that on the sales rep and give them the remaining, whatever it is, 12 or 15. And whether or not you want them to have visibility or they get any credit for the order, that's up to each individual supplier. Brandwise and the Museum Store Association aren't making policy on that. This is going to be an enormous increase to the interconnectivity that the association has. And so I think it's going to be important to look at this as a larger pie, as opposed to dividing up the pie that's already there and saying, well, now we're going to lose 3% of it. And if there's been any lesson about that, Fair has been the lesson there. Fair has generated a lot of new accounts for suppliers. There's no question. We're going to do that within the MSA world by giving you discoverability to all of those members. But that's basically kind of where we're putting that.
Okay, three questions here.
Sure.
One is from Dean from Channelcraft.
Hey, Dean.
Dean, so glad that you're here, Dean. How many SKUs per vendor?
Unlimited.
Okay. And Donna McNett from Donna Scarves. What if you do custom goods like Donna Scarves?
Yeah. So this is the site coming out of the gate is not built for custom. It is built for discoverability. It's not built for custom. We're right now going to be putting together a small group of vendors to have a conversation with them about what are the first features that they want. Consider that everyone's technical requirements would be drastically different, right? Someone might need an image that's 500 by 500. One might need it by 2000 by 2000. It's going to be different file types. The process is different. You don't just shoot in an image and then get a product, right? Not in our world. We color check. We go back and forth with samples. We're working on a solution to add that in. We knew coming out of the gate that it wasn't going to have all the bells and whistles for that, but we are considering it. What we want to ensure is that you have discoverability right now. So my recommendation is going to be that we're going to put together what we recommend as best practice right now, but that you include the different products that you make with the word custom as the lead word. and so that the discoverability can be there. So if somebody looks up custom scarf, they can find custom scarf. And then, and the same goes with sizes and other pieces. Eventually this will have sizes as we have a child-parent relationship, as that's baked into the site. So if you do apparel, you can have that as well. Doesn't have that feature right this second coming out of the gate, but all of those are on the roadmap. For now, we'll put out some best practice in terms of, I don't want to say workaround, but how to use this. And in that case, the way I would encourage a custom manufacturer to look at this is imagine you're at the expo. You don't put out a sign out front that says custom with all of your prices. You put the product out front and you put the word custom next to it. So the buyer walks up and says, "Oh, do you do custom?" And you say, "Yep, that's what the sign's for." And then the conversation starts. So what I think is most important right now is I would not look at this as that this site needs to have every answer for every supplier based on how each supplier does their work, certainly in terms of custom, because as we know, that's unique to everybody. We haven't gotten there yet. We will add features in, and that's going to be a process. We knew that was, that's a piece of it. It's a big part of what the MSA does. But this couldn't be all things to all people coming out of the gate. It's going to keep getting better, and we're going to add more custom. But for now, what I'm going to recommend is that for discoverability, that's how you go about it.
Okay, and now I have my third question, and
Yes.
then we have another question.
Okay.
So my question is, for museums that want to sell to the trade, and they might not be museums that have an enormous wholesale availability to
Yep.
sell, but sort of the way MSA used to have the trade,
Sure, of course.
is there going to be a platform built towards that?
So there was a good conversation about this. So there's some policy. This is going to probably be introduced in January. But basically, there are many of our members who also wholesale. But there'll be a few requirements that's going to be put on that. It's going to have to be a product that's unique to them. The marketplace is not intended to be a resale, a place for museums to sell product that didn't sell. Because I mean, and again, I'm not setting policy here. I work for Brandwise. I know MSA well, but the MSA board has discussed this. It's not going to be, we're not going to want to find the same product on, 5 different people offering it, at competing prices. That's not what we're looking for. However, museums that make unique product, absolutely wholesale. New York Historical Society, Newport, Ava, UDO, a number of others. That will be introduced as a possibility. That'll probably be at the beginning of the year. And there'll be some other kind of, rules around it, but that is also on the roadmap. Those museums would be set up basically as a buyer and a vendor. But we want to put those policies in place very clearly and fairly so that the vendors know that they're not going to be selling a product which is then, going to pop up. So that's going to come with a communication kind of blanket wrapped around it. And that's when we'll be doing it. But we're looking at that for the beginning of the year.
Okay, great. Thank you. From Diane from Italianissimo. When
Yes.
can we, a vendor, see a more complete product listing with longer product description, etc., instead of only image with the very minimum info?
Yeah.
When to get more info about uploading brand profile?
Sure.
Minimum.
So Transit is being built out now. That might be in time for the launch. It might not. Just a couple of things. This is a pioneer program, which is one of the reasons why the MSA has gotten kind of an extraordinary deal on it, which was really important considering the challenges MSA is facing. We're putting this out there as a fully functioning site, and more features will be added as we go. So the longer brand descriptions, the pop out, multiple images, all of these things are on the roadmap. So in Italian, I would say abbia pazienza, which would be patient. In that we're getting this out there and we're getting it up there. When I've shown it to retailers, what I can tell you is that when I've shown this to MSA members, they only ask one question: when can I start placing orders? So what my recommendation is going to be is get your product up. The brand description should go a long way. If you're making scarves and you have a lot of different scarves, chances are that your brand story up at the top can cover part of it. Know that all the features that you're talking about that you find on any sites, eventually you're going to get there, and probably pretty quickly as we go, because they're all being worked on. Brandwise iterates every single product that they do, every platform, every 3 weeks. So that gets a lot of changes happening. You know, even this one that we're looking at here that I showed you was the very first version. That's already being surpassed, I believe, in a couple of days when the next one comes out, which is going to have scroll bars and more dynamic pieces. So it's going to be exciting as the new features come out. The beauty of how the system works is that the vendors are able to upload all of their data from one CSV file, basically from one or TXT file. Let's call it a spreadsheet, which means that as these new pieces are done, they can load them all in at once. So that'll be an advantage. But those are it is all coming, and I guess I'll say stay tuned for that.
Will the site have the vendor's contact info available so the museum? Okay.
Yeah. So in that top area that was next to the New York Puzzle Company, that big
right.
white rectangle, all of that, this isn't a site where we, this is actually quite interesting. This is not a site where we're limiting contact information. We're actually sharing it, meaning as an MSA vendor, access to retailer data, who's the buyer, what's their contact information, has always been something that's been almost always immediately out of date, right? A directory is published, a week later, someone's information changes and it's not there anymore. The beauty of how this system works is that the buyers and the vendors are all maintaining their own contact information themselves, and any changes that they make are live. So as a vendor, the information that comes through is always going to be live all the time. And that's going to be a beauty of it. And another piece, which is the add-on piece, which is play. Another part of this contract is that this agreement is that every single vendor is going to have an application that they can put on an iPad. Now this has extraordinary, this is the cornerstone flagship product of Brandwise, which is the handheld piece that the reps use. That is going to have in it an incredible number of additional tools, and every single member of the MSA with their live contact information. So a vendor would be able to, if they saw that a museum had a show coming up, would be able to put together a tear sheet. I'm going to put together all my Monet products, generate a PDF, shoot it off to that buyer, and get an order started. So that's going to be with Play. That's going to be the Play licenses. That's going to come after we launch this. But that's an opportunity where there are even richer and more opportunities, because that product is one that's been developed and tweaked and built on and iterated for 23 years. So it wasn't 23 years on an iPad. It was on PC. It was on a Palm Pilot. It was on all kinds of things. But now it's iPad is really where there's a huge. It's a wonderful product. So that's also baked in, that the MSA vendors get that at no upfront cost, and they're able to use that tool when they want, whether it's in person or not. That's also part of this. So that's pretty exciting.
Okay, another question and then a buyer question.
Sure.
From the vendor. Can we add monthly specials?
So you'll be able to add and change anything you want on your data whenever you want. You load in a new file with new information, you'll be able to do that. And that now we're getting a little further in features, but basically, if you put up a new product, so you put up a new product, you put up a new description, you put up that it has a special, you load that in, you load your new data file in, that's what populates the system. You then can do your own outreach with a link that takes them back to that product and to you. So the tools and the different things that can happen from it are exciting. Eventually, this will be equipped also with discount codes, so that you can offer an actual code and leave it in that way. That exists in Play, and a lot of these features are coming over to Reach. I never understood what it took to do this kind of work until I walked into Brandwise, and there are 40 developers, and it looks like I'm at the NSA. They've got 6 screens. You have to be quiet. It's dark. They feed them carefully. It really was quite extra. I thought, I don't know what, 10 people work there, but I walked in and it was this. I said, "Who do these people work for?" They said, "Oh, this is the whole development team." So anyway, that's more of that is coming. But for now, you'd be able to change your prices whenever you wanted to.
And from the buyer's end.
Yes.
So have I understood correctly that in order to facilitate this from my museum, you have to be an MSA member?
That is a policy determined by the MSA. Their policy is you have to be an MSA member in order to be able to access it. And so, yeah, that's the starting point.
Okay. So does that mean that all of us are automatically registered for this? So am I, without me doing anything, am I already, like, am I
So
able to go on this site and?
Sure. Well, here's what's going to happen. On November 10th, we will roll out what we call the Passport program to the retailers, where you will create an account. You'll create not only your personal profile, but then parallel to that, you'll create your company profile, which you'll then link to. The reason why it has this process is so that the company itself is an entity, kind of like on LinkedIn, right? You are a person, you're linked to a company, and it's all permission-based. So you as a person, as an individual, will create what's called your passport. You'll then create a company profile which you're connected to. That company profile is going to be connected to the MSA through a permission, and that's where your membership, active, not active, says, okay, we are connected to this company. We're probably going to pre-populate all the companies so they have to be created, just so the data might need to be corrected by you. But then at that point, you're connected and you're ready to go. And anyone, if you have multiple people in your company, any one of them with their individual passport connects to the company passport, then they have access as well.
So Lawrence is saying he's already on Brandwise.
Great.
Can he use
He'll
the
use
MSA
his
passport?
same, absolutely. So Lawrence, the way you connected to an agency probably so that you could shop, did you do that connection process where you said, I want to connect to you? Okay, that's exactly the same way that it works. So Lawrence shops between one or multiple Brandwise agencies, and he'll just be able to, it's kind of like, you know, when you get to something that says, would you like to sign in with Facebook or sign in with Google? You'll be using the same passport to access any Brandwise marketplace, which includes agencies you might work with and the MSA marketplace.
Okay. I don't see any other questions. So do you want to just continue with what you're
Sure.
doing?
Yeah, I want to show real quick. I'll share my screen again. I'm going to share this one. This is just so that you can all get an idea of it. This is a guide. So once a contract has been signed with a vendor, that they sign the contract with Brandwise, they're sent login credentials as well as this guide. And this guide has in it a quick start that explains how the different pieces work. It's got links in order for them to watch more videos, learn more information. It gives them the walkthrough process with the passport, and the buyers will get something like this. It looks complicated. It's not. We just wanted to show every single detail and every single question, because while it's not overly complicated, it is new, and new is, you know, something that you know, needs we need to answer as many questions as we can. So now they're connected. This is how they're going to upload their images. This is how they're going to put in their lifestyle image, and then this is support center. Then we include a bit of basic information about how this works, how the partnership works. We have a glossary of terms, which explains all the different pieces in even more detail than I have here. And then we get to some additional steps that they should do. And then we have the frequently asked questions. The frequently asked questions, we already had a lot of frequently asked questions. So we put up all the frequently asked questions, and we will keep adding the frequently asked questions. And then there's some useful information. So that's basically the guide that they get. The support center at Brandwise has 10 people that are active, I think, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain Time every day. So it's, and the vendors and everyone else will be given, you can text them, you can email them, you can call them, you can go online and open up a ticket. So that's what they get. Just wanted to give you a look at that. Lawrence, on a scale of 1 to 10, how hard is it now that you have it set up for you to use your passport? Is it easy or hard?
It's pretty easy. I have to say the first couple of times I went to vendors or more sales groups, it was like, oh, they've already got my information. This makes it so much easier. Click and I'm there. I can shop all their catalog.
Excellent. I did not know Lawrence was going to give that answer, just so you know. I was hoping, but I didn't. He's not a shill. And so it really
So
is
you
quite
didn't pay him
unique.
for that?
I didn't pay him for that. It really is, once you have that information in there and you have it set up, that means that your billing information, your shipping information, eventually also your credit card information. Brandwise is completely PCI compliant from beginning to end for the suppliers. It's all now tokenized, so it's very secure. That being said, you can keep paying your suppliers the way you have been. Brandwise is not making any rules. You can pay by check, you can pay net 30. That's all there. Brandwise isn't making policy. We're doing everything we can to help all of you do what you've already been doing. and to try to emulate it in exactly the same way as possible. Have patience, because everything coming out of the box isn't going to be exactly that way. If you work in a specific way with a vendor, that's a unique, right? That's a pretty tight Venn diagram. So we're going to keep adding features. But it'll, for all the suppliers out there, I greatly encourage you to join something called Brandwise Insiders, which is a Facebook page where there's lots of information. You can periodically see roundtables led by me. But suppliers, here's a really interesting one that we just did. If you join Brandwise Insiders, you scroll back a bit, we just released, and actually everybody can find this. If you go to Gift and Deck, the magazine, find a recent article about Brandwise and data. There's a link at the bottom where we've shared 25 months of aggregated sales data broken out by every state in the country. So Brandwise ecosystem handles about $2.5 billion of orders a year. So that data that we released shows, Ohio in August of 2019 did $6,847 or whatever it is. So that, but you can see, so you can track, you can see how your state's doing, how your area's doing. So I think it's kind of interesting for anybody. So anyway, go to Gift and Deck magazine, look for an article that came out 2 days ago about Brandwise and data. But so anyway, there's Brandwise is a big world, and I'm super excited to have MSA as part of it. Any other questions? Hey, Chacha. I answered all the questions?
Jackie, you're mute. Unmute yourself.
Okay, so any other questions for Ari? All right, well, Ari, thank you. You're a total pleasure, incredibly informative, and we appreciate your time.
I'm happy to be here. You all have a way to reach me. My name's always, if you want to ask me a question, Lowenstein@brandwise.com. Don't ask me the technical questions, because the truth is I don't know the answers, but the support center does, because that's what they're paid for. That's why they're experts on it. But if you have any problems and you don't get satisfaction, certainly you can reach out to me. There's a woman named Megan Fisker who's the account lead for the MSA. Circle on your calendar November 10th, because that's going to be a day we're going to be announcing when you'll be getting communication on how to set up your passport. We'll also have a live webinar to do that as well. Our site can only host 501 buyers at a time, so hopefully we'll I'd say let's get all of them, but if we get 600 we're gonna have to do 2. But Lawrence isn't going to need it because Lawrence already has a passport. But yeah, we're super excited. I'm personally very proud to be part of this, and just seeing the product flowing in there. I was talking with one of the buyers the other day, one of the former board members, and I said, people could shop it right now. She said, can you just let me in? I want to shop now. Can you just don't tell anybody? I said, no, I can't do that. I'm sorry, I can't do that. But it is very exciting to see that. We initially populated it with about 20 just to show what it would look like. And I'd been concerned that I said, well, what if those are the only ones and they don't sign up? Well, we're at, actually, while this was coming up, I saw we're at 64 now that have signed the contract. 137 or 8 that have signed the contract, 64 that have started the process. There's an email going out today that those stats are in there. And I can tell you from my experience, when there was a certain time a few years ago when we had some management issues, and Paul Stewart, Stan, and I jumped in to basically run the show. And we were selling the booths. And I sent out an email that said something like, there's only 50 booths left to the vendors. The next day, there were only 15 booths left, because there was this moment where they said, oh my God, I'm not going to have a booth. So this email is going to go out. It's going to show there's already 12,000 SKUs up there in terms of data. Over 6,000 of them have images. 64 companies are loading their data. Around 140 have signed their contracts. Any suppliers out there, if you have not signed your contract, please do so. If you haven't got the contract, it's probably because MSA hasn't flagged you as an active member, so you should reach out to them. But and especially if any of you are already in or have been in the Brandwise ecosystem, it's gotten simpler. We have a single sign-on. We have great tools out there. Let's get your product up there for November 10th. If you load it November 11th, of course, it's going to be fine, but we'd like to get you in there for the launch. So thank you, everybody, for your time, and I'm super excited. I'm not sure which I'm more excited about, November 3rd or November 10th. That's a toss-up.
Thanks, Ari.
All right. Thanks, everybody.